little colder, I still love to do a really simple cold brewed matcha. And cold brewing matcha is really quick and easy to do. It's not really like cold brewing a coffee, for example, where you're gonna wanna let it sit overnight for multiple hours. That's something that you can do with cold brewed matcha, but you could also just do it in the moment and drink it right away. It's also really versatile. You can use that as the base for just making an iced tea or iced latte. And even you can store it in your fridge and later use it to throw into a smoothie recipe or something like that. What I would typically do is do it in something like a mason jar like this. And you can use something like this too. This works great, but I'm gonna use this ball jar. It ends up being just a great thing you can even use to drink out of later and to store in too. But really you just want something with a lid. For this recipe, obviously I'm going to be using Wonder Matcha, the matcha that we make. I've got an open bag over here, so I'm going to use that. Just about 1.5 teaspoons of Wonder Matcha. If you're using regular matcha, you might want to use closer to just 1 teaspoon. And I'm just going to sift it right into this ball jar. Sifting your matcha when cold brewing in particular, I find is a pretty important step if you're going to use this sort of shaken technique, because it really helps to reduce the clumps. And like I said, this is something that you can do ahead of time. So if you want to make your matcha for the next morning and you know you're going to want a cold iced matcha, and you might want to even experiment over time with how long you leave it to sit and just see how the flavor evolves. So now we've got some sifted matcha down there. You can do cold brewing using other techniques than the kind of shaken technique. Of course, you could use a whisk like our power whisk, or you can always use Japanese bamboo matcha whisk and bowl as well. This really ends up just being super simple, fast, and then you can reuse this when you're done. Now we just add some cool water. I definitely recommend using some filtered water rather than just straight from the tap. You'll just get a higher quality result at the end. I'm going to use about 8 ounces, and this jar actually has a little marker here for where 8 ounces is. If you want to turn this into more like a creamy latte, maybe just use closer to 3 or 4 ounces, and then you can add cold milk after. I'm probably just going to drink this as a tea or top it off with a little milk after. This is our lightly sweetened matcha too, so I'm not going to add any sweetener, but you can do that. Time to shake. So you can see that worked really well. There's no matcha stuck on the bottom or on the sides or anything. It's completely shaken up in there. And at this point, you can actually drink it just as is. You can see it's super nice and frothy, just the way you want your matcha. Or you can add some ice to this, add your sweeteners at this stage, add some honey if you'd like, and you can add some milk. You can also just throw this in the fridge, save it for when you're ready to drink it or use it some other way. Let's try it. That's really good. That's really good just as it is. I'm gonna top it off with just a little bit of ice and a little milk. Right, you can see how good this looks. So that's a super quick and easy way to put together a cold brewed matcha. Again, you can let this sit in your fridge overnight if you'd like to, or even up to a couple days, kind of see how the flavor evolves. But otherwise, enjoy.